sharing. There we go. This webinar is being recorded. But if you're not already following us on social media, we would love to have you follow us on social media. We share a lot of tips and tricks on all of our pages. So we have our Facebook handle in there. We have our Instagram handle, our LinkedIn. And then the last thing we have in here is our relatively new group that we're starting. And it's called Brand It with Social Sipper. And you can see the address in here. And you can sign up for it, and it's going to be interactive. So, you can ask questions, you can share stuff with us, with the group, talk about it. But it's going to be a great place to kind of stay on top of all things branding, marketing, advertising, et cetera, et cetera. And I think at the end, you're going to receive an email with the next class to register, along with links to all of these. So if you don't want to type them in, you should be receiving that email at the end of this recording, or at the end of this webinar. So I think I'm going to jump right into it. Is that good, Gina? Are we ready?
Should we start with the poll?
I actually, well, what the heck? I clicked on the link. Give me one sec.
I have it ready.
Hold on. Okay, you know what? Every time I try to switch pages, it goes to that link, which I love. But okay, first I want to do this, Gina. I want to introduce us. You're getting ahead of yourself here.
Oh,
just kidding. No, I'm kidding, Gina. We're just a real quick introduction to Social Sipper. You have me and Gina. Gina's Chief Business Development Officer. Most of you probably know her, have met her, have seen her out in the wild. We have Shannon on this call as well, who is, she's in charge of it all, but she kind of is going to do the background tech stuff for us. And then you have me, your Director of Digital Content and Strategy. And our mission here at Social Sipper is to help our clients build their brand through storytelling, because we want to put more of you into the world. So that's who we are. And let me move on to the next one. Now I can move. Now it's time for the poll, Gina. So we're going to deploy a poll, and this is just, it's one question. You can pick your answer, but we're just looking to see how comfortable you are with Canva. So I'll give you guys a minute or two to answer, and then we'll see what everybody else has.
Let's give everybody just a couple of moments to find their poll icon.
Yes.
On my computer, it's up at the top towards the left side.
And I like to tell everybody my camera's over here and my presentation is here. So sometimes you see me looking that way and you're probably like, why is she not looking at us? It's because I'm seeing it over here, but But we'll give you some time to answer the poll and then move on.
It looks like so far it's pretty split between Canva Ninja in training and Canva more like Canva, which is funny. So that's great. So we will have some useful information to share.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a lot of beginners, which is great. This will kind of go in between like being a beginner and having some knowledge of Canva, but not a ton. So I think all levels of experience will learn a little bit something today, we hope. So let me move on. So just real quick, for all of you people that don't really know what Canva is, Canva's actually been around since 2013, which is crazy. So it's 11 years old. But they're constantly, they feel new because they're constantly updating and upgrading their systems. But it's an online design and visual communication platform that really, it's used across the world. Like everybody uses Canva. It's one of those ones, they have free versions and they have paid versions. So many people have access to it and use it, which is really cool. And then the question that we always say, what is Canva? What is Instagram? What is LinkedIn? And then why should we use that? Because just knowing what it is doesn't tell you why you should use it. But One really nice thing about Canva is it's super user friendly, right? Like I used to be a big Adobe person, Illustrator, Photoshop, the whole 9 yards. And don't get me wrong, those platforms are great. But honestly, you can do so much in Canva and it's so much more user friendly. So really all of you newbies, like getting on here, it's going to be easy. It's intuitive. There's so much like drag and drop. There's a vast library of templates, images, fonts, videos. You almost don't have to leave Canva, for other platforms. You have to go and you have to find your pictures and you have to find your fonts and you have to download them and then upload them. And it's a whole process. But Canva really streamlines everything. So that's what I love about it. So those are the basics of Canva. And then I kind of touched on this, but there are different types of Canva, right? So we have a free version and we have a pro version. And honestly, the free version is relatively decent. Like like you can use that for a while and get away with using free. Probably after like 6 months or so, you're going to be like, oh, like I need to upgrade. Like I want to have more access to stuff. So like in the free version, you have access to around a million or so stock photos, graphics, videos, and audio, where in pro it goes up to 4+ million. You're going to get some decent templates in the free version, but in the pro version, there's so many more. There's a fair amount of free fonts, and we're going to go through and visually look at all of these shortly, but just so you know, there's free fonts. But again, in the pro version, you have a broader selection of fonts. You also have the ability to upload your own fonts into the pro version. So if your brand or company uses a specific font and it's not already in Canva, you'll have the ability to upload those fonts, which is actually nice. In the free version, there is access to AI tools. You have Magic Write, Magic Design, Magic Edit. But in the pro version, you have access to like 20+ AI tools, which, as we move into the AI world, those start to become important. In the free version, you have 5 GB of storage, where in the pro version, you have 1 TB. So you get a lot more storage. Also in the pro version, you're going to get access to background remover, which I tell everybody, like that's worth its weight in gold. Like to me, that's worth $15 a month. You also have access to brand kits. So if you have a specific logo and colors and fonts and an entire brand that you want to store within Canva to make it easy, you have access to those. You also have access to content scheduling in the pro version. I haven't used it a ton, but I know other people who use it and really like the content scheduler in there. So that is a nice bonus of the pro version. And so now what we're going to do is something different that we don't normally do, but we are going to jump into creating. So this is where things are going to go rogue. I'm going to pull up Canva and I'm going to give you a hands-on demonstration, and hopefully I don't get too off track because I love Canva so much. Like I like to talk about everything in here. But can you see my Canva screen now, Gina?
No, we're looking at the PowerPoint.
Okay, let me stop sharing, and I am going to reshare and move over to my Canva screen. Home and share. Okay, can you see Canva now? Like my desktop with Canva open? Okay, perfect.
And I'm gonna follow along like everyone else.
Okay.
Try to design something as well. So I figure if I start getting super confused, somebody else might be confused too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so when we are using Canva, we are going to go directly to canva.com, right? So this is going to be our main screen. So mine's loading a little weird, of course, go figure. But you are going to see your screen may look a little bit different than mine. And there's reasons for that. One, it's based on whether you have the free platform or you have the paid platform. That's going to be make things look a little different. The second thing is Canva truly is intuitive. So it starts to know what you like to design, right? And it's going to start to show you things that it thinks you want to see. So yours, again, when you log in, it might just look a little bit different than mine. But if we look here, everybody's is the same as far as the fact when you scroll down, you're going to see your recent designs. And you'll see all of them. You can keep going and you're going to see hundreds. Mine are loading super slow, but hundreds of designs. So those are all housed right there. On the left-hand side, you're going to see a toolbar. The home toolbar always takes you back to home. Projects is going to take you over to your different projects. So again, some of that's going to be a lot, your recent designs, your recent images, your recent videos that you may have uploaded. One thing that I like to point out here is creating folders in Canva, like, is the best thing you can ever do, because otherwise you're just stuck, like with all of these things, and it's like a blur, like what's what, like it's harder to find stuff. So I always tell people it's a great idea to start creating folders. So once you're in the project page, all you have to do is click the add new button, and then you can create a folder, and we can just call this, Canva presentation folder. But once you have that folder, you could put anything in that folder. And then the really nice thing that I really, really love is right here. If you click the 3 dots next to your new folder and you star it, what's cool is it's going to show up here on the left-hand side. So then, like, when you're on the main page of Canva, you can still see, like, these are my important folders that I access, like, literally every day. So I don't have to go through and then go to projects and scroll through everything. That's a really super easy way to get yourself to organize. And if you're just starting out in Canva and you're like, oh, what do I need a folder for? I promise you, make the folders now, because it's easier to do when you're starting out versus waiting until you're like, you have hundreds of designs and you're trying to go through and sort them and organize them and, figure out what's what. Other than that, on the left-hand side, you're going to see some other, you can access if you have a brand kit, if you have apps, if you want to access certain templates, that can all be done from the left side. Across the top, you're going to see a search bar, which is also super convenient. So say I'm looking for a design that I made for Oyster Crush. I'm going to type in Oyster Crush, and it is going to bring up all the recent designs that I've done for Oyster Crush. What you can also do, so you'll see this toggle here. There's a template toggle and a project toggle. Projects is going to show you your actual designs. The template toggle is going to show you what it thinks. I typed in Oyster Crush, so it's going to show me templates that are already created that focus on oysters, right? So, there's a lot actually, which I did not realize. But that's the search bar. Going back to home though, we're going to jump right in and we're going to start a design. There's multiple ways that you can do this, right? But what I prefer to do and what I recommend is this big purple button up here. You can't miss it. It says create design. So you click create design. And what it's going to do is it's going to make some suggestions for you. So you can look through, you can pick any of these suggestions. Say you're thinking like, okay, I want to make a LinkedIn post. All you have to do is type in LinkedIn, right? And it's going to bring up a lot of different LinkedIn type posts. You're going to need to know like what type of post you're making, right? Because there's so many different sizes here. And usually Canva's right on track with the size. So for like LinkedIn post, it's saying 1200 by 1200. But it doesn't hurt to go and double check that, because honestly, platforms change every other day. It feels like as soon as like, oh, Instagram should be 1080 by 1080, now there's a new recommended size. So Canva does a pretty good job keeping up with that, but it still doesn't hurt to double check. If you are like, oh, none of these fit what I want to do, I want to create a flyer, but I want it to be 8.5 by 4 inches. I don't know why, but what you could do is you can come down here to custom size, and then you could type in your own width and height. One thing to keep in mind is stuff goes by pixels, which is usually what you're using for online designs, inches, which would be normally when you're printing something, and then millimeters and centimeters if you live across the pond. But so for, say you wanted to create, like I said, 8.5 by 5 inches, all you have to do is type it in, and then you hit create new design, and it's going to pull up that size for you. For the sake of this class, you all know, if you've met with me before, how much I love Instagram, right? Like, that's my favorite platform. Not only is it my favorite platform, but it's also my favorite design size. So like, I tend to stray towards the Instagram post, which is 1080 by 1080. The reason why I love this size is it works on Instagram, it works on Facebook, It works on LinkedIn. It works on Google what is it called now, Gina? Google Business Profile, not Google My Business anymore, but it works on Google Business Profile. So long story short, like this size works for so many different platforms. So you can essentially make one design and hit all of the major platforms with it. So I'm going to go with that. If that works for you guys, the 1080 by 1080. And now what you're going to see is a whole new screen pops up, right? Like we have a whole new toolbar. So the one that you just saw really means nothing to you now at this point. And we are going to focus on a new toolbar. But maybe what I should ask you, Gina, there's no questions as of yet, correct, for the last toolbar?
Correct. There were no questions. Now, I did notice that my purple crate design was below over on the left side. So I
Okay.
don't know why, but it was. And now
Yeah.
that you've opened up a new window, Angela, I do not believe we're seeing that window. I believe we're still seeing
Gotcha. I'm going to
the
have to,
home.
let me stop sharing and reshare. I think every time I open up a new tab, it wants me to do, oh wait, maybe I can just do entire screen. Let's try that.
Mhm.
Share. Perfect. Can you see my new tab now?
Let's see. Yes. Oh, and
Okay.
I'm right where you are. So I'm in the perfect place.
Perfect. So we are literally opening up, like we have a blank slate, which I know can feel daunting, right? Because you're like, okay, now what do I do? But we have our project open and we are seeing a new toolbar. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the toolbar on the left-hand side. The first button is design. So we click design, and just so you know, if you ever have this open, there's a little hide right here, and you can just hide that and it goes away, which is super nice when you're trying to design. But the first tab, and this one is just like the last one. Canva's intuitive. It's going to build your toolbar based on how you use it. So yours may look a little different than mine, but don't panic. You're still going to have access to everything. It just may not be in the same order as mine. First up, design. And this is going to show us a bunch of templates. I'm looking at my notes over here too, guys. I just want to make sure I'm touching on everything as we go along. So, and if you see me looking, you know why. But these are going to be all of your templates. And there are so many templates. So like if you're looking, let's say Mother's Day is coming up. So we could type in Mother's Day. And it's going to bring up a whole bunch of templates for you to look at slowly but surely. The nice thing about templates is it makes your life easy, right? Because now you have a design done for you and you really didn't have to do that much. But what I like to remind people to keep in mind with templates is if you have access to it and it's really easy to use, so does every other business. So when you go on social media and you pick this one, there might be, 10 other people in your market using the exact same template as you. So while templates are nice, and I do totally appreciate them, you want to keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind with templates, so is you can customize them. So you see here, it says really great site. You can click and just change it to your own website, which is nice. So there are easy ways that you can customize templates, and the more you learn to use Canva, the easier it will be for you. But like there's definitely things you can do. You can change fonts, you can change colors and kind of make it your own a little bit. But still, like as you start learning and getting well versed in Canva, you probably want to try to shy away from templates a little bit. Another thing to keep in mind with templates is there's free versions and there's paid versions. So if you're looking and you see this little crown here that says Pro, that means you have to be a Pro subscriber. But as you scroll down, you'll see this one. It doesn't say anything about Pro. So this is a free version. So if you have a free account, you can use it. One thing to keep in mind is that everybody, there's less free templates. So if you use a free template, there's going to be even more people using those specific templates. But they're still good. Like as you're getting started and you're kind of learning things and finding your way, it's a great place to start. Next button under designs is elements, and elements are where you're going to find like all of, all of your elements. But you're going to find your shapes, you're going to find lines, you're going to find graphics. You'll see stickers, charts, tables, frames, and I'll go over what these are in a little while. But all sorts of things that you might add to your design, you're going to find under the element button. And you can do searches and you can look specifically for certain elements, and we'll talk about those down the road. But that is the element button. I am going to get rid of this Mother's Day design. Up next is a text bar. This is where you go again to find text, to find fonts, to add in text. I'm just going to switch my brand kit to Social Center. And if you guys are following us on Instagram or Facebook, you're going to see, I think it was yesterday that I posted a Canva shortcut. If you didn't see it, like definitely go look at our accounts and find those shortcuts because they're going to make your life easy. But one of the ones I shared is if you hit the T button, you don't have to hit Control or Command or anything, just T. It's going to bring up a text box for you, which is so nice. So otherwise, if you don't do that, you come over here and you can click add the text box and it's going to add a text box for you. So however you want to do it. But it is kind of fun just to be able to hit the T button and, you know, add stuff in there. You'll see also under text, you're going to see all these preset designs. Again, these are kind of like templates. There's only so many of them. Lots of people use them. So if you really want to set yourself apart, that might not be the way to do it, but they are there when you're getting started. We'll go through fonts and everything a little bit more as we move along.
Angela, there is a question here that may fit into what we're doing now.
Sure.
It's about designing in that 1080 size.
Sure.
Specifically to Social Pilot. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that application. I know there's so many of them out there, but the question is that when they upload it into Social Pilot, it adds borders on both sides. So then they have to go in and edit it into a square again.
Okay, so Facebook, no matter what, Facebook adds, so yes, if you do it 1080 by 1080 in Facebook, Facebook is actually adding the borders. It's not a Social Pilot thing, it's a Facebook thing. If that really bothers you, then you do have to design it specifically Facebook size. Usually Facebook is really good with picking a border that matches your design and it looks good, but every once in a while they kind of go rogue and you may wonder, but yes, so that's not a Social Pilot thing. It is a Facebook thing. If you hate that, yes, you would want to design specifically Facebook size and then specifically Instagram size. So hopefully if that doesn't answer the question, though, feel free to ask me to elaborate.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the text tab. Up next is the brand tab. This one I'm not going to go into. This is creating brand kits. It's definitely more of an advanced process, but it does allow you to load up your logos, to load up your color palettes, your fonts, et cetera, so that when you're designing, they're much easier to access. Next button is your upload button. It's exactly what it sounds like. If you have a picture on your computer or a logo or something like that, all you have to do is click upload files. You can upload it, images, videos, audio, and then you can access it. So like for this example, I uploaded this picture and now I can pop it into a design. So that's the upload. The draw button is exactly what it sounds like. I have never used this, but you may have reason to. And you can grab a pen or a highlighter and you can add drawings to your design. I'm not a very good drawer, so that's probably why I would never use it. But like if you wanted to highlight something or maybe circle something, like those are definitely options. Up next is the project button, and that's really just going to show you all of the projects that you've worked on in the past. So if you created something in the past and you want to bring it into the design you're working on now, all you do is click and it's going to bring it in here. And this is the post I was just talking about, like the Canva keyboard shortcuts. This is on our social pages. So if you want to access those shortcuts to make your design easier, please follow us on social and you can take a screenshot of it. I'm just going to get rid of that page now. Underneath there is your apps. This would be a whole class. There are so many Canva apps, like, and you kind of have to go through and you have to explore them and decide, what you might like, what you might want to use. I will tell you the one app that I use, like, I think every day is the QR code app. It's super nice because, and I actually even have it pinned to my toolbar because I use it so often. But you can just go in and you could put in a website or socialsipper.com, click customize. You can change your color. So say I want it to be a blue, change your margins if you want, and then you hit generate code and it creates a QR code for you. And if you scan that right now, I promise it would go to socialsipper.com. It's such an easy way to make a QR code right in the middle of your design. So that is one app that I will highly recommend. Underneath my apps is photos. This is where you go to find your pictures, right? So all of the stuff that adds to your designs. So when you're looking in here, you're going to see there's trending photos, which Canva's really good with switching those out, and they show you kind of what is trending right now on Canva and in the design world, in the social media world. So if you're ever just like looking for inspiration, that's a great place to start, is you can look through here and see what other people are using in Canva. But if you have something very specific in mind, right, like you're doing a design and you're a real estate agent, you're like, you know what, I want to do a post about a backyard, like something about like looking for a bigger backyard, buy a home for me. So you can type in the word backyard, right? And it's going to bring up a whole bunch of pictures of a backyard, and they're really nice pictures. Same thing, as you're looking through these pictures, you're going to see the Crown and the Pro, and that means you have to have a paid account to use those pictures. But there are also plenty that are free that you can use. Like, that's a nice one. Now let's say you're like, oh, I want to find a picture of a backyard, but I want there to be a dog in the backyard. So we're going to expand our search. So we have backyard. Then what we want to do is use the plus sign, just like if you're searching a string on Google. So we have backyard plus dog. Let's see what we find. So now we have a backyard plus dog in the picture. And let's say we also want family in that picture because we're, again, trying to sell a house to a family. So we are going to do backyard plus dog plus family. And now it's going to bring up pictures of a backyard with a family and a dog. So as you're looking for pictures, like, it's really good. You can add in as much, as you want, and hopefully it's going to find pictures for you. Now I will say, let's say we only want it to be in the winter. It's going to be less pictures, right? Because there's only so many on here, but you're still going to find a few. We got a family, we got a dog, we got a backyard, and it's snowing. So it's so you can really get in depth with searching for your pictures, which is really cool. As you start to add like that long string, you're going to find that more and more of those pictures are going to be the pro version, not the free version. So as you start like really looking for specific pictures, you do want to like keep that in mind. As we move along later, we'll kind of go over more like design elements with the pictures, but I do want to note to you that there are a lot of filters and different design elements that you can use within pictures. So we'll go over that a little bit later. Honestly, that's almost like a whole nother class because Canva now has so many different photo editing options. Next tab over here is videos, and videos are the exact same concept as photos. You're going to find videos, you would do your search the same way. But as you can see, you see videos, they're nice quality. You can add them to your designs because, we all know, we preach like video is the big thing on social media. So, you can look into, like, let's see, family and backyard. We'll do family plus backyard. See if it finds anything. Yeah, so then it's able to find, so there's a lot of videos in here. It's actually impressive. And it eliminates your need to have to go to an outside source to look for a video or look for a picture, then download it, then re-upload it, then add it to your design. It's a really nice way, again, to keep everything kind of self-contained, which I love. So those are my basics about the toolbar on the left-hand side. Like I said, yours might look a little bit different, but it should be fairly close. Am I good to move on, Gina? Or do we have any
Yes.
questions? I'm good to move on? Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so now that we've learned the basics about the toolbar, we're really going to go into actually creating a design. So we have we have our white background again. We can go ahead and we can change the background color. So up here, as we're working with this background, our toolbar across here is pretty small, but we can see there's a background color. So we can go through and we can pick any one of these colors for our background color. There's not a lot of options, right? Like they're all kind of boring. But a couple of things that you could do if you're not loving these boring colors. Number one, you can come up here and you can go through the whole rainbow of colors, which is super nice. But if you're like me, you might look at those colors and be like, oh my God, I don't know which one to pick because there's so many of them. So a couple of options for you. Number one, your brand logo, your company, you may have hex codes. And those are what tell you, they tell you this is the numbers and the letters that make up the colors of your brand. So for example, one of our colors at Social Sipper, our hex code is, I don't have it memorized, 4B8E9D. So all I have to do is type that number in and it's going to pull up the exact color of teal, which is so nice because if you look at this, all these teal colors, they all look the same to me. I know they're different, but they all look the same. So if you have the number, that is a super easy way to get, the exact color. But let's say you don't even have that and you're like, oh, I want to make a cute spring design, but I can't think of any good spring colors. Here's a little hack for you. This is like one of my favorite hacks. So can you see that I opened up another window, Gina? Can you see Google?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm just going to type in spring color palette. And Google's going to, and then I'm going to go to images, and Google's going to bring up eventually, a bunch of different color palettes, right? So there's so many options. And just to make life easy, I'm going to say I like this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this palette and I'm going to copy this image, okay? And I'm going to go back to my design, if I can find it somewhere over here. There it is. And I am going to add a page, right? So now I have 2 pages and I'm going to do a Control V, which is paste. And it's going to put my color palette in there. And again, that Control V shortcut is on our little cheat sheet. So if you can write it down now, but if you can't remember, it's on that cheat sheet. So now we have the color palette and you're like, okay, so what do I do with that? How do I find these exact colors? All right, let's go back to our design and we're going to go back to the background color. And what you're going to see is right here, photo colors. It's pulling all of these colors in for you. So it makes your life so easy. So you don't have to try to estimate or guess or, match it yourself. So that's a little cheat for you on how to get some cool colors. The other place you can go to get cool colors is canva.com/colors. And it kind of brings up a whole workshop for you on different colors, but you can go to color palette ideas and you could say spring, and it's going to give you a whole bunch of options. And it's the same process though. What you'll want to do is you can either copy, you see all the numbers, so you could type them in, or what you could do is you can copy the image and paste it in there, which I think is so much easier personally. But anyway, so now we have our palette, we have our colors, and we're just going to leave this kind of hanging out here so those colors don't go away. But we have a background color. So I picked a nice springy yellow background. And now to start off our design, like first and foremost, I'm going to want to add a visual. So I'm going to want to add a picture. So I'm going to go to the photos. And again, I am going to search for something. I'm going to make like a spring flower type design. So I'm going to look for spring potted flowers, right? And it's going to bring up a whole bunch of pictures for me again. And I could have typed spring plus potted flowers, but I just typed it that way. But say I want to use this picture and I want to get this picture in my design. I have a couple options. I can grab it and I can drag it over here. By doing that, it's going to take up my whole design. Other option is I can click it and it's going to pop it there. And that's also fine. But when it really comes to designing, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add an element. And I'm going to show you which element, because now we have this picture. And if I keep moving it around, I'm going to mess it up, and I'm going to like try to put it in my design. And then I'm going to go to do something else, and it's going to get moved because it really doesn't have an anchor right now. So I'm going to create an anchor for my picture, which I always recommend doing. So we're going to go to elements. We're going to come down, and there's two types of anchors for your picture. There's frames and there's grids. What frames are is kind of what they sound like. They're these fancy designs of frames that you could put pictures in. So I could say, I want an A frame. Go back to my photos, and I take my picture and I could put it right in the A. And now I have a cute little, framed photo. But for the sake of this design, we're going to look at a grid. And a grid is more just like, again, a placeholder for your pictures. It's not going to be like a super pretty, cute design or anything. It's just a holder for your pictures. So you'll see under grids, there's so many different options. And it's 1 picture, 2 pictures, 3 pictures. You come down 4 pictures, and so on and so forth, and different layouts for them. So you could say you like 3 pictures and you want it to look like that. You can also like resize these and whatnot, but there's all different layouts, so you have to play around with all of them. For the sake of this, I'm going to take this type of grid, and what I'm going to do, I don't want my picture to take up the entire design because I want to put text in it. So I'm going to resize my frame. When you go top to bottom or left to right, you're actually changing the size, not dimensionally. Now, if you grab something by the corner, you're dimensionally changing the size. But we're just creating a frame. So I am going to so this is going to be a little placeholder to keep my picture right where I want it to be. Now I'm going to go back to photos, and I'm going to grab my picture, and I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to drag it, and now it pops. See how like it pops right in that frame. And now it's exactly where it needs to be, right? I can still adjust the frame if I'd like to, but now my picture's in there. Now that we're looking at the picture, we can, real quick, I'll show you. If you double click on the picture and you grab it, you can make it bigger. You can move it. So if it's like bigger like this, I can move it left, up, down. Really you can get in there and get it dialed in exactly how you like it. And once you do, it's in that frame and you're good to go. As we're looking at it in the frame, you're going to see our toolbar across the top has changed again. Canva is always going to be changing your toolbars. A couple of things that you could do once your picture's in here that's kind of cool. There's a transparency button. So you can make your picture super light, super dark, however you would like to do it. Sometimes bringing down the transparency is nice when you want to put text over it because it helps the text pop. But that is this button right here, and it's called transparency. Another thing you can do, which is somewhat newer with Canva, and I love, you can add borders now to your pictures. So you'll see that right here, and you could click on border style and you can add a border. You can also round your corners if you would like, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a design element. But yeah, and once you have your border designed right over here, you'll see a color. And right now our border's black, but we can make it any color we want to make it. So that's kind of nice. Another one of those commands that you're going to see on that cheat sheet is Control-Z. It's my favorite command. It means undo. There's also undo right here, Control-Z. I do it all day long. But then there's also redo. So like if you did an undo and you're like, oh, wait, I should have left that, you can just hit the redo button and it comes back. So keep in mind those buttons because they'll get you out of a jam plenty of times. So anyway, we have our picture in here. We have so now what we're ready for is like, I would like to add I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. One other thing I want to show you is there's a lock button. So when we're in our picture, we can lock it, double lock it, and now it's in place, and now nothing can take the place of our, like we can layer to our heart's content and nothing can take the place of our picture. But up next, we're going to add some text. And I realize I have to talk faster because I only have 15 minutes left. But the text button, so we're going to go back to text. We can do that hold on. back to it. Sorry, guys. We can do the T button and we can add our text that way, or we come over here again and click the text box. But we're just going to type the word spring because we're doing an ad for spring flowers. So we have spring here and it's super boring, right? So we are going to pick a different font. So we come up here and we see our font toolbar, and then you're going to see there's so many different fonts. It can be overwhelming, honestly. Again, to push it to our social media, we posted something last week that has some really good fonts that you can find in Canva. And we did some pairing. So, because sometimes it's hard to see a font and know what goes well with other fonts. So we kind of made, again, another little cheat sheet. If you want to follow us on social, you can download that or screenshot it for future reference. But let's say we have a couple of options. We can come up here and we can type in specific fonts like Helvetica, and it's going to pull up all the Helveticas. But you may not know font names because most people don't. So say you want to find a script font. You can type in the word script and it's going to bring up all script fonts for you. So, and it's nice because over here you can see exactly what they look like. Another option is you can look here and Canva gives you suggestions. So we have handwriting, corporate, display, and you can go through those to also give you an idea of how to pick your fonts. So let's go to handwriting. And we're going to see a whole bunch of options. One thing, keep in mind, the Canva Pro, you'll see that little crown, and that means you have to have a pro account to use that one. But we're going to come down and I am going to pick permanent marker. And there we go. That's going to just make my text a little bit bigger, a little bit bolder, which is nice. I don't like the color, obviously, because it doesn't go with spring. So as we're again looking across this top toolbar, we see the name of the font, we see the size of the font, and then we're going to see the colors. So I'm going to pick from my little spring chart, I'm going to pick pink. If you picked a font that was able to be bold or italicized, you'll see these options here. Permanent marker, you can't do that. Some fonts you can, some fonts you can't. You have the option to underline. You have the option to, I think that's called superscript, cross it out. I don't know why you use that. You have the option to make everything uppercase or lowercase, which in this case, this font is all uppercase, so it doesn't matter. You have an alignment, which means you can, here. Okay, you can change the alignment. So right now I'm left aligned. This would be centered, right aligned, middle aligned, etc. So you can always change your alignment, which is helpful sometimes. After that, you can add bullet points or numbers. And after that is your spacing button. And this is where you can change the spacing of your letters. So we could spread them really far apart. And you'll always see this little dot. This dot shows you what the standard is for that font. So we're going to go right back to the standard. Line spacing is the same thing, except it's spaced between the lines. So this isn't a great font to demonstrate on, but spacing, again, we can stretch it out really far. We could put it really close together, or we can go back to that little dot and we're right where we're supposed to be. So let me get rid of this. And then after that, Canva has some cool effects that you can add to your designs. And this is kind of like you just have to go through and play with them because there's so many different options. But you can add shadows, you can add lifts. Let's say for this purpose, let's add an outline and we'll make it, we're going to go back and we're going to change the color and we'll make it, no, I don't like that. Hold on. We're going to go to effects. We're going to change the outline color here and we'll make it yellow. So now we have that. I think that looks pretty good, pretty much what we're looking for. We're just going to add in another set of words. So we'll add another text box and we'll call it a flower sale. And then we're going to move this and we could pick, you could pick any type of font, but I'm just going to go in and pick something easy. Don't judge me on this design. I'm doing it on the fly. Let's just pick Poppins because it's an easy
great. Font. It's looking great.
Thank you. So we can have then the words like flower sale, right? And again, we probably don't want black. So we remember we come up here, we look for our text color. and we're going to make it pink so it matches everything else. So now we have all of our basic text in here. Oh, one other thing I would like to show you is when you're moving stuff around, can you see there's a line like right coming down the center? Do you see that, Gina?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's my center line. So that's how I know I'm centered left to right. If I want to truly hit the center of the design, see how there's a vertical and a horizontal now? That means I'm in the center of the design. So as you're moving around, in this case, I don't want to be vertical. I don't want complete center. I just want to be centered left to right. So pop that in here. We have our flower sale wording, and I feel like those could be closer together. So I'm going to go to spacing, and I'm going to move the line spacing up a little bit. And now I think we have a good base for our text. So up next, let's go back to elements. And this was where I said we're going to have all of your graphics and everything like this. So let's look for a fun element. Let's look for a spring. Let's look for a spring flower line art. See what it brings up for us. So it's going to bring up some different line design flowers. And you can go through, you kind of have to figure out, if you just go spring flowers and you don't do line, it's going to bring in more like the cartoony designed graphics. I just like flowers line. So, but if you type in the word line, it's going to give you kind of more of this type of design. So what you can do is you can go through and you can find your favorites and you pull them into your design and you can just pop them right in here. And now you've added some flowers to your design, and we can grab it and we can do a control copy, control paste, which we talked about those shortcuts. Now we have flowers on both sides. Looking at the elements, again, you're going to have a toolbar. Another one to keep in mind when you have elements is this flip button. We can click flip, and now I can flip that. So my designs, like they're both pointing the same way. You can also flip it vertical if you would like. You can also grab a design, and you're going to see this in the design, and you can spin it all over the place, whatever you would like. So that's how, and graphics are really kind of like one of those things where you just have to go in there and you have to explore and type stuff in and find what is going to fit best for you. Another cool thing that you could do though with these is, we talked earlier about the transparency. We could bring down the transparency so they're not quite like the main focus of this design, but they're still there and adding some substance to the design. So that's an element. Another element that people use a lot are under shapes. So we can see all shapes, and you're going to see squares, triangles, all that kind of stuff. You can add lines. So if you wanted to, like, maybe, I don't know why you would, but maybe you'd like to put a line in there in between. Now you have a line, and you could come up here and you can make it thicker or thinner. You can make it dotted, all sorts of things with the line. I'm going to actually delete that out. But the other thing under elements that under shapes, say we want to add some wording up here. We want it to say like, this weekend only. My flower sales only one weekend. But now we're putting that text up here, and it's really hard to see, right? So we might want to go back to our element box, and maybe we want to find a shape like something like this. And we can change the color again. So maybe we make it pink and we move it up. We move it up into our design, probably make it a little bit bigger, but we could put it here, and then we could grab our text, make it a little bit smaller and put it right in there just to add another element to the design. So there we have it. That was pretty quick, completely finished design. And I haven't even gotten to show you guys photo editing. So I'm going to make that very, very quick. Gina, any questions in the meantime?
Let me see what I have here. Nope, looks like everybody's really enjoying what's happening so far. Thank you, Angela.
Awesome. So let's pull up another picture, and I will show you a little bit of a, like, just a little quick version of photo editing. We'll pull up this picture. So We have our photo in here. It's not in a frame. I know I'm not practicing what I preach, but for the sake of this, I just want to give you a quick demo. We're going to come over to edit photo, and you're going to see there's so many different options. You can do things like, and this is a pro option, but magic eraser. Say you're like, oh, I don't like that window. And we can just cover it up, and hopefully it works and it doesn't prove me wrong, but let's see. Usually works, but everybody knows how AI is, right? Okay, perfect. It got rid of the window. If we don't want this kid in there anymore, say like, yeah, we don't like him. We can easily get, now I didn't do his hand. I know I should take more time to do, but you'll see. That didn't do a great job, but we can go over and do it again. For the sake of time, though, it works pretty well. We're going to Control Z and get back to normal. Some other things you can do in here with pictures, you can create a blur. So maybe you want to blur your whole picture because you're going to put wording. That's always nice if you want things to pop. So you want to put words over top of it or things like that. It's always nice to give stuff a little bit of a blur. You can also blur certain sections of a photo. So if you really want something to pop, you can blur. Maybe you want to blur just your background, but not your foreground. Those are options as well. Again, Control Z. If there's, where did my picture go? If there's one button that you guys can take away from this one shortcut, it should be the Control Z button because it's super handy. Let me pull that photo back in here. This is my favorite feature. Like, I love this one, and it's the background remover. You used to have to spend hours in Photoshop removing backgrounds, and it was really, really a pain in the butt. So now we click background remover, and look, our entire background is removed. So now we just have like these people running. So we could put, we could change our background color, make it pink, and now it just looks like a family, running, and we don't have all that annoying background, which is really, really cool in my opinion. Again, like that's worth $15 a month alone. But the photo editing is just kind of something that you need to get in there also and play with. You'll see lots of filters. So you can, if you want the picture in black and white, you can switch over to a black and white version, change the intensity, lots of different options. But the photo editing in Canva has become very robust and they keep adding to it. And I know next month they're doing another huge release. So I'm anticipating even more cool photo things. But yeah, I think that is where I'm going to end it. Yes, Gina. Yeah, you have questions, so I'm going to move on to questions now.
Yes, wonderful. I do have another question.
Sure.
So this comes, the question, I'm just going to read it word for word. I'd like to make an announcement regarding a new website feature I'm releasing. I'm creating a post with a picture of the feature release. How much blur do you recommend?
Okay. So how much blur do they recommend on the picture of the website? Is that what we're talking about? I guess I'm kind of confused. I'm sorry.
This is on the picture.
So if you really want people to be able to see the picture, I wouldn't blur it at all. Like if whatever's in the picture is important information, I don't think I would blur it at all. Even if you do it like, if you do it like a 10, 12, you can kind of still see it. If it has words though, that's where it gets tricky because your words get muddy. But maybe like if you just did like a really light, maybe like a 15, you're still able to see the picture. But if you put text on top, it would still pop. But a lot of it's going
to a little follow-up clarification.
Okay.
The intent is the post to drive picture to the website, to drive people to the website, right? So the post is to drive people to the website.
Okay.
So maybe now I might need a little bit more feedback from the question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still kind of confused by it.
I'm wondering if the new feature on the website is not ready yet, and so that's why the picture is to be blurred.
Maybe.
Or is it
Um,
like a sneak peek, like, oh, wait a minute, what is that feature? What?
oh,
Like, you
yeah,
know,
if
like,
it's a sneak peek, then I would definitely you could definitely do like a pretty decent blur, where maybe get more like up in the 30s where it's, I mean, if you go all the way up to like 100, obviously that's a real sneak peek. Like you're not peeking much. But like maybe like in the 50s, it's kind of one of those things where and I know I say this a lot, but it's worth um doing it, like just getting in there and blurring it and see what you like. If this isn't answering your question and you want to ask us outside of this webinar, please do, because I could definitely it's a very specific question, and without seeing like exactly what we're looking at, it's hard to say. But
mm-hmm.
again, remember, Control Z is your friend. So if you blurred it and you're like, oh, that's too blurry, Control Z, and you're going to get right out of that blur, which is
All right.
nice. But yeah,
Well, thank you, Angela.
really.
The questioner said thank you. It definitely helps. So thank you for that. It looks like right now it's 1 o'clock. We're out of time. I do have one more question that I
Sure.
wanted to go ahead and shoot over to Angela. So, but by all means, if you're ready to sign off, we want to thank you so much for your time today. If you wanted to stay on for a few more questions, just click on the Q&A section over. It's on the left side of my screen, and we can go through those questions. So thank you, everybody, for attending.
And
So, Angela, yes,
just
go
a
ahead.
quick
Sorry.
reminder, our next Lunch and Learn next month is going to go over Google Business Profile. So if you have one, awesome. If you don't have one, awesome. Even if you do have one, you're probably not using it to its full extent. So definitely pop into that class, and Gina's going to go over how to optimize that profile. And once you leave this webinar, you'll get a link to the next month, so you can sign up. And then go ahead, Gina, take it away with the question.
So, so the next question, remember, we did have some can't of us, right? Or whatever
Yes.
the answer was.
Yes.
So you have
Yes.
this beautiful design now.
Yes.
Now, how do I get it onto my postcard, or how do I get it to social media? Like, okay, it looks beautiful there. Now what?
Okay. So yeah, so then which I didn't even honestly, now that we've gone through this once, this class should probably be at least 2 parts, because there's a lot to unpack here. But once you have your design done, all you have to do is come up here to the right-hand side and click the share button. And once you share it, it's going to give you the option to download it. It's going to give you the option to share on social if you are using the scheduler. It's going to give you the option to print on demand with Canva. I've never done that. I've heard people do it and have good luck, but I do think it's more expensive than using like Staples or something. But yeah, so we click the download button. And when we click that, it's going to come up and it's going to tell you the suggested download. So a PNG is a suggested download for social media. It's already properly sized. All you have to do is click the download button, and then it's going to download it, and it's going to put it on your computer, and then you can upload it to social media. Or say you designed a flyer, it's going to recommend to you that you should be downloading it as a PDF. So then you would download your flyer as a PDF. Again, now it's on your desktop, and you can take it to Staples or the UPS store or wherever you get your printing done.
Perfect. Let's see. I think those are all the questions. I'm reading
Okay,
through, making sure, because a couple things came in at the same time.
got it.
Yeah, this looks great.
Awesome. So yeah, that's just like, again, it's just a little introduction. Maybe what we'll do is in the summer schedule another Canva class. That's once you guys all had a chance to download Canva and get in there and use it, you'll be ready for like our next class, which will be a little bit more advanced.
Oh, here's a quick question that came in. Yeah, we're still here. Thank you. Is there an app or anything that you could use instead of using a computer?
That's so funny because I was talking to somebody about the app this morning who I think is actually on this call. There is an app Personally, I really dislike the app. It doesn't have very much functionality. It's a lot harder to use, and I tend to get frustrated with it. So, but you can absolutely download an app, and there's certain things that you can do on there. But I will tell you, it is so much easier to be on a desktop or a laptop versus being
Okay.
it, the app is great for if you've designed something on your desktop and you're like, oh, quick, I need to download it on my phone. Then I would open up the Canva app and download it. But to do like the actual design work, you're only going to thank yourself for doing it on the desktop versus the app.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Awesome.
And that's all. So I guess we can sign off now.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And hopefully, we see you at next month's webinar. And hopefully, you guys get to join our group on Facebook because we can absolutely continue this discussion within our group on Facebook and answer any questions that may pop up. So,
All right.
have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.